It's time for a Big Blue Kickoff Live.
Nobody can ever tell you that you couldn't do it, because you did.
On Giants.com.
You know what I saw? New York Giant pride.
And the Giants mobile app.
17-14 is the final. One touchdown, we are world champions. Believe it, and it will happen.
Part of the Giants Podcast Network.
Let's go out there like a bunch of crazy dogs. Have some fun.
Hello again, everybody, and welcome to Friday's edition of Big Blue Kickoff Live, presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. And, of course, as always, coming to you from the Giants Podcast Studio, presented by Hackensack Meridian Health. Keep getting better. Paul Dottino, Matt Citak with you after the Yankees eliminated the darn Boston Red Sox in Game 3 last night at Yankee Stadium. Bombers, baby. It's all about the pinstripes as they continue to move on. But that's a baseball story. We're here to talk football for the next hour. Giants go down to the Bayou to take on the New Orleans Saints on Sunday. Not a friendly place if you're the New York Giants. The Louisiana Superdome has been a house of horrors. I call it the house of voodoo. The Giants are lifetime 4-9 at the Superdome since it was built and opened in 1975. Several of those games were ugly. About the only great memory out of that place is the trademark Lawrence Taylor game, which, Matt, if you didn't see it, I know you know about it and you've seen the highlights.
Yes.
When in prime time, Lawrence Taylor basically single-handedly destroyed the Saints' offense despite playing with a harness on his separated shoulder that was an absolute mess. Lawrence Taylor, truly the greatest defensive player who ever lived, and that is his trademark game. When I tell people, young people, about Lawrence Taylor, I tell them, you want to watch that game because he was Superman. But I digress because that's one of the very few highlights the Giants have had in that building. So, what are they going to do this week as they look for their second straight victory with rookie Jackson Dart at the controls? Now, there was a little bit of news today out at the presser involving head coach Brian Daboll. We know that Dexter Lawrence is ill for the third consecutive day and is missing practice this afternoon. They're out there on the field right now as we come to you during this program. I'm sure the anticipation is that after 3 days of illness, he'll be able to get on the field Sunday. That would be the optimism and the hope that you would have. But you know this as well as I do. You know, Matt, when you're sick for 2 or 3 days in a row, it tends to deplete you of some energy and you tend to get a little weaker, dehydrated, all those kinds of things. I don't know how close he'll be to 100% by kickoff on Sunday, but the Giants certainly could use him against a very, very strong Saints running game.
Yeah, for sure. Some of the beat reporters were saying that he was at least outside when the reporters were, they're present at practice for about, 10, 15 minutes as the team is stretching and doing a little bit of individual drill. So he was out there, which obviously is a good sign. Coach also said, despite Dex missing practice all week, he thinks he'll be good to go. I mean, obviously you never know, but he did make it sound like he expects Dexter Lawrence to play. And I mean, you and I were both in the locker room after the game this past Sunday. I feel like it's pretty safe to assume he just picked up whatever Brian Burns had. Because Brian Burns in the locker room after the game was very sick. In between every answer, he was coughing a storm into his vest that he was wearing. So probably Dexter just picked up whatever Brian was, working through. And
did he get that vest from the Flintstones nostalgia shop?
I don't know. I kind of liked it. I don't know if I could pull it off, but I did like it.
No, you could not pull it off.
But, unlike Brian Burns, Dex has, got a little more... I don't know a little more meat on him.
How about width?
Yeah, width. So it might be a little tougher to, overcome, the flu or whatever the Burns had this past weekend. He didn't even know what he had. But yeah, I do think we'll see Dexter Lawrence on Sunday, and he's got a good matchup this week. The Saints, Brian Daboll was talking on Wednesday about how the Saints have multiple first-round picks along their offensive line, which is true. But it's not like these first-round picks have necessarily all panned out to, all-pro or very, very, top of talent on the offensive line. They've had their struggles. They're also a banged-up offensive line. I mean, Kellen Moore already ruled out Cesar Ruiz.
He's out for a month or so with a bad ankle.
Yeah, but for sure out on Sunday.
Yes.
And then some of the other offensive linemen have been, not practicing yet and have been dealing with their own injuries. So it could be a second straight week that the Giants get to go up against a somewhat depleted opposing offensive line, which we saw what they just did against the Chargers when they were going up against some backups. Could be a similar performance from the pass rush if the Saints are down some of their guys. Even if the Saints are not down some of the offensive linemen, I suspect we're going to see another strong performance from the Giants pass rush.
Well, consider this. Last week, the Chargers' weakness on their offensive line was the right side of the line.
Yep.
And the Giants really made use of that.
Well, once Joe Alt went down, really both tackles.
And then it became both tackles. But going in, we knew the right side of their line
with
was
Trey
weak.
Pipkins.
Well, here's the problem, okay? When you look at the Saints' depth chart, so Ruiz is their right guard, and he's out, and it looks like South Carolina undrafted rookie free agent Torricelli Simpkins is going to have to be their starter there. That is not good if you're the Saints. On top of that, their right tackle, Fuaga, who's a first-round draft pick from last year, was their left tackle last season. He has swapped over to the right side because Kelvin Banks, the condominium from the University of Texas, was drafted this year in the first round, and they immediately planted his feet at left tackle. Fuaga's already given up 2 sacks in the first 4 games. The adjustment to that side has been a little bit sketchy. So what I'm telling you is that if I'm the Giants, I'm that front seven, I'm looking at that side of the line again, just like I did last week. Now, who knows what will happen during the course of the game, but that's the Achilles for me. That's where I'm attacking.
Yeah, I mean, the Saints are also, we don't know for sure if he will be out, but Dylan Raduns, he's missed the last 2 games. He has not practiced yet this week. Kellen Moore has not ruled him out yet. He ruled on Wednesday. He ruled Ruiz and Chase Young, defensive end. He ruled them both out on Wednesday, at the start of the week. So those guys are definitely not going to play. The rest of these guys will obviously see, when the final injury report comes out later today. But if Raduns doesn't get on the practice field today, I would say it's pretty unlikely he suits up, considering he hasn't played the last 2 weeks as well. Trevor Penning has missed the first practice, then was limited yesterday.
Left guard.
He's dealing with an ankle injury. So this is a banged up offensive line for New Orleans, which is for them not good when you're going up against this Giants pass rush, especially coming off of the performance we saw them have last week against the Chargers, where it was probably the best performance of the Giants pass rush we've seen all season between the 3 edge rushers. I mean, Dexter Lawrence didn't really even need to do that much in terms of getting after the quarterback. He had I think 1 or 2 pressures. He obviously made the big splash play with the interception, but it was really Brian Burns, Abdul Carter, and Kayvon Thibodeau that combined for 20 pressures, 12 quarterback hits, only 2 sacks, but on the 19 the 19 pass attempts that Justin Herbert had when getting pressured, he was only able to complete 5 of them. 5 of 19, and that's a quarterback that had been coming into that game playing at a near MVP level, I would say. And the Giants, made his life hell for 60 minutes. So again, could be a good opportunity for the pass rush to do, have a very similar performance this Sunday.
Now, a couple of things to keep in mind. Now, Raduns is their top interior sub. So the fact that he's hurt just means, well, guess what?
Getting further and further down the depth chart.
That's it. The rookie's going to have to play at right guard. We mentioned him a moment ago, Simpkins. And if Penning is gimpy and can't go, now they're really digging deep to get a left guard. So that's what makes that a problem. Because Raduns is a vet. He's been around a little bit.
He did start the first 2 games for them.
Yeah, he's been around a bit. And at the moment, he was like their key interior sub. But it's not looking good for them. Now, here's what I will say, and this is very important, folks. I truly believe the Giants' best friend in the Chargers game was game flow. The fact that they got the early lead on the first drive with the touchdown, then got the field goal, even though they had to settle for 3 off of the Dexter Lawrence interception. They were up 10-0. When's the last time you remember the Giants being up by 2 scores in a game, especially early?
That early? Can't remember.
I don't either, and I didn't look it up. But that's not important to prove the point that I want to make. That allowed the Giants to control the tempo and the game flow of the contest, which meant the Chargers got away from their run game earlier than they would have liked, because we know Harbaugh wants to run it. Now, they still had like 11 carries for 70-something yards, aside from the 50-plus yard touchdown run that we saw by Hampton, and aside from the 29-yard scramble that we saw from Herbert. So 11 carries for 70-something yards is not a great average for a defense.
No.
So let's make it clear. It wasn't like the Giants shut down the Chargers' run, but the Chargers, with their banged-up line, they weren't that confident to stick with it, and they also had to play catch-up against the Giants. So they were apt to want to throw it more because, after all, Justin Herbert is a superstar. Well, that didn't work out well because it played into the Giants' strengths, and that is the pass rush, the front seven. So while I overwhelmingly agree with you, we could see a similar game flow play out in New Orleans. What you can't do is let either Miller or Kamara get off with the run game. You can't let the Saints have the lead or stay even with you. You want to get them down so you control the game flow, because if they believe that they can stay balanced with those two backs, and they're a 1-2 punch, all right, Miller's a between the tackles guy, Kamara's going to be going outside, he's going to catch passes and everything else. If you let those guys establish a run game, this game is going to be 3 times more difficult for the Giants to win.
Yeah, I agree. I do think, though, we got to establish, it is somewhat of a 1-2 punch. Kamara is the top dog in that backfield.
Yeah,
no
doubt.
For sure. And,
no doubt.
And, it based on what Coach Dable was saying about the Saints and Kamara, especially on Wednesday, I do not think we have to worry about the defense coming into this game with the possibility of overlooking Kamara and his talent, because Coach had nothing but just glowing things to say about Kamara. He is a little bit on the older side for a running back. He's 30 now, but the Giants know just how special he still is and how much of a dual threat he is. He's obviously, his rushing isn't, I would say, quite what it was, a couple of years ago, which makes sense. Again, he's 30 years old, but he's still one of the better pass-catching backs. And he hasn't really even been asked to do that much this season in New Orleans, but he's still very capable of it. I don't think the Giants are going to, overlook that aspect. I think if I had to guess, chances are they're going to play more towards stopping the run and force Spencer Rattler to beat them, which that is probably the best strategy, because Spencer Rattler comes into this game, 0-10 in his career as a starting quarterback?
He has lost his first 10 career starts, and that is the longest stretch of any such quarterback since Jared Goff.
Yeah.
When he was with Detroit.
Not good. And, I mean, you look at Rattler's numbers just in a vacuum, they don't look that bad. But he's not.
Because it's all short stuff.
Yeah, he's not doing nearly enough to actually help the offense move consistently up and down the field and put up points. I mean, a lot of their points they've scored has kind of been, in comeback mode when opposing defenses are sort of playing soft and just trying not to give up the big play.
Just to give you an idea of how muted their offense has been, they don't have a single solitary player on the team who is averaging at least 10 yards a catch. Not one. Even Chris Olave, who's top 10 in the NFL in receptions, the former Ohio State receiver, who's usually shown great hands and is an outstanding route runner, he's averaging about 7 yards a catch.
Yeah, he's got the Wan'Dale Robinson from last year's stat line.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you can have 10 catches, but if it goes for 50 yards, what good does that do?
So, this is where they're at, which is why you must, it is imperative for the Giants to control the tempo and the game flow by stopping the run first. They take care of that. The rest of this game should fall in line. The game plan should be pretty simple, but you've got to take care of that issue first.
Yeah, I mean, no doubt about it. And again, especially early, they got to stop the run. I mean, we've been saying this every week going back, I don't even know how many seasons, but this week especially, if you can come out and just immediately shut down Kamara and Miller when he's on the field, shut down the run game,
Now it's Rattler's game.
force Rattler to beat you, that's going to put everyone on the defense on all three levels in very good positions. The pass rush
certainly will.
to get after him, just wreak havoc, cause pressure. The secondary is going to have some opportunities to come away with some takeaways. Let's see, so many guys, I feel like the last couple of weeks especially, have gotten their hands on the ball, but haven't quite been able to come down with the interception, obviously other than, Drew Phillips last week. I want to see Paulson Adebo come down with his first pick of the year, especially going up against his old team, returning to New Orleans, going back to the Superdome for the first time since that serious leg injury cut last season short for him. I think it's time for him to come away with his first interception.
That would be very sweet, I'm sure, for him. By the way, just talking about Kamara, I want to give you one more number on him in terms of the passing game. Now, it's true, his numbers in the passing game this year are actually minuscule. I'm actually surprised that the Saints have not used him more in the passing game. He only has 13 catches for 49 yards so far this year, and the Saints have only had a pass completion of longer than 21 yards once through 4 games. Once of over 21 yards. That just shows you how muted they've been. But Kamara, believe it or not, he is tied with Tiki Barber in terms of running back receptions on the NFL's all-time list. Tied with Tiki Barber. That gives you an idea of how important he's been to that franchise for the last decade.
Yeah, now I do want to say the Saints obviously come into this game 0-4. They haven't had the easiest schedule to start the season.
Oh, excuse me. Like I'm going to weep for them?
We've obviously, the Giants have not had an easy start to the season either, but just pointing it out, they started the season against the Cardinals, who I think have, I would say, like a frisky defense. They only lost by a touchdown in that game. Then they played the 49ers, very close. They only lost by 5, and this is before the 49ers got completely depleted with injuries.
Mm-hmm.
They played, the one blowout loss was the game in Seattle, it was in Seattle, yeah. And the Seahawks have a very good team this year. They're very talented, especially I think their defense is overlooked. And even last week against the Bills, I mean, it ended up being a 12-point game, but they were, in the game for most of it. It wasn't like a blowout where garbage time made it a little bit closer then. Like, they were kind of in the game. So, we're talking about all these things and the reasons why, we have some optimistic feelings about Sunday, but obviously you cannot overlook any opponent in the NFL because any given Sunday, any team can beat anyone. So, the Giants do come into this game technically as the underdogs, which
they do. Again,
was
going
a little surprising
to
me, but
it's that house of voodoo.
It's because it's in the Superdome. That is a very, very difficult place to play as an opponent, but nonetheless, just can't overlook this opponent because, as we see in the NFL every week, there's always a handful of complete out of nowhere upsets where no one thought that one team would have a chance, like last week Giants against the Chargers. And upsets happen, so you can't overlook this team, regardless of how positive it might look on paper.
Final thought about the Saints depth chart. We'll flip it over to defense for a second. There's no question the strength of their defense is at linebacker. Pete Werner, Demario Davis. Davis, he's got 10 seasons of 100-plus tackles, been all-pro first or second team 5 times. He seems like he never gets old. He's another one of those guys who has been around forever. Got better ever since he left the Jets. Remember, with the Jets, he was not nearly as productive as he has been with New Orleans. So that's the strength of their defense. Carl Granderson has 4.5 sacks. But here's the thing that's very interesting, and I noticed this one. In terms of next-gen stats, and this is very, very critical, the Saints are last in the NFL in quarterback pressures. Last. Now, they've got 10 sacks, I think. They're double-digit sacks, which isn't bad. But they are last in the league in pressures because, to be frank, Cameron Jordan, he's second among active NFL players in sacks, but he's long in the tooth. He's not the same guy that he was 6 years ago.
No, not quite. He is 36
so,
years old now.
Yeah, so they're not really very stout in their defensive line and their secondary. They got a big injury in their secondary. Isaac Yiadom is hurt. We remember him from his time with the Giants. He's a journeyman. He's been in a bunch of different uniforms over the years. And Kool-Aid McKinstry has had a very difficult time. He has not lived up to his billing coming out of the draft last season. So, it's a linebacker-based defense, not as much on the D-line or in the secondary. So, again, there are a number of paths to victory here for the Giants, but they got to play disciplined. Don't goof off, don't make mistakes. Both the Giants and Saints, by the way, have been penalized over 40 times this year. They've drawn 40-plus flags, both teams, which does not bode well if you're a head coach who doesn't like to get stressed out.
No, and again, we keep saying this, but especially going into that stadium, pre-snap penalties, you got to be extra careful and on making sure you don't have false start penalties, because it's going to be very tough for Jackson Dart and the whole offense to really hear each other on the field, especially if the Saints come out strong right at the gate and get the crowd behind them. That's going to make it obviously even tougher of an environment to play in as in an opposing offense. So those pre-snap penalties, which we've seen those penalties affect the Giants even at home the last 2 weeks more so than we would like. So that's keeping those to a minimum has got to be one of the top priorities. You can't shoot yourself in the foot.
Good to have Andrew Thomas play a full game last week at left tackle. We anticipate there's been no setbacks that we know of, so we anticipate all systems are go. And look, no disrespect to James Hudson, but the Giants are a better team when Thomas is on the field.
1,000%. I mean, Thomas is the All-Pro, the former All-Pro tackle who really hasn't just been healthy since that All-Pro season in 2022. But we saw in the limited sample size in Week 3 and then the whole game last week just how much of an impact he has on that offensive line. I mean, we talked about it going into the season. He is the biggest, the cornerstone of the offense. When he's out there, the offensive line is a completely different unit, and we saw it this past Sunday.
All right, very good. We need to go to the phones. Lucas in New Jersey is on line 1. You are on BBKL. Hello.
Hey, Paul. Hey, Matt.
Good to talk to you.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, pretty good. I actually wanted to make a quick comment and ask you guys a question or two.
Okay.
Yeah, what's up?
So, this weekend, it was great seeing the D-line playing better. And so, a couple of buddies of mine, I was just kind of perplexed. I was like, I would love to see Tibbs, Abdul, Burns, and Dex at the same time. And I think we saw that a little bit more this week, and I think it keeps them on their toes. But my question is about the linebacker depth. Do you think it's strong enough to withstand the whole season, or is it a position maybe the front office is looking to maybe reinforce?
Want to try it?
Yeah. I think at least as of right now, that is a position that the Giants seem, at least somewhat comfortable rolling with the guys that they currently have. I mean, obviously losing Micah McFadden is a tough blow because coming into the season, he was going to be starting next to Bobby Okereke all year and has, been playing pretty well the last season or two. So that was a tough blow. But the Giants did go out and sign 2 veteran linebackers in the offseason, in Chris Board and Demetrius Flanagan-Fowles. And I know when they were signed, it was thought of like these guys are definitely going to help out in special teams, but they're also going to be linebacker depth in case there are any injuries. Obviously, Board is currently on injured reserve. Hopefully he's back in a couple of weeks, but Flanagan-Fowles is now back. I know the coaching staff has confidence in Muasau. They just want to see what he can do with more of an expanded opportunity. So at least for now, I mean, they also did go out and sign Neville Hewitt, who's now, only really been contributing on special teams so far. But when he gets more of a hang of the defense, it wouldn't shock me if he starts getting mixed in at defense because he's a long-time experienced linebacker with, plenty of games underneath his belt. So at least for the time being, it seems like the coaching staff is at least wants to give the guys that are on the roster behind Bobby Okereke, give them a chance to show what they can do.
Is that all?
Gotcha. And who do you think? I'll leave you with one more. What were you going to say?
No, go ahead. I just wanted to know if you had another point.
Oh, cool. And then who do you guys think this week for us is going to be above the X's and the O's?
Well, I think it's very important that one of the Giants wide receivers steps up. With Neighbors being out for the season, they're going to have to figure out how they want to spread the ball around. And if there is somebody they'd like to feature a little bit more than the rest of the crew. Now, we don't know this, but we think Jalen Hyatt is going to get an opportunity to be involved in this mixture. We don't know that for sure. The Giants have options now. You know, little Jordan Humphrey's on the practice squad. They could bring him up. Dylan Cambry is on the practice squad. They could bring him up. You know, Hyatt continues to be a mystery in that he's been buried so deep on the depth chart, he hasn't really had any opportunities. Is this the week that, if nothing else by default, he gets a chance? You know what? I hope he does, and I hope he does great.
I hope so too. You know, I kind of have just my personal opinion and feeling, but I feel like we might see more of Bo Collins.
Could be Bo
on
Collins
the outside
too.
than Jalen Hyatt. I know Giants fans, you may not want to hear that, but I feel like the coaching staff is going to want to, you know, give Collins a chance, similar to what I was saying with the linebacker, see what he can do. And, you know, he has looked kind of promising between the performance in the summer. I mean, to make the team as an undrafted free agent obviously is a tough thing to do. I feel like he might get the opportunity before Hyatt on Sunday. Maybe I'm wrong. It's just a feeling, but
hard to say.
It is hard to say. We'll see. But for me, the player that I'm most interested to see, you know, above the X's and O's, is Drew Phillips. I mean, it's the last two games were such different outings from Phillips. 2 weeks ago, there's no doubt about it, he struggled against the Chiefs. He had those 3 penalties, 2 really big ones, gave up I think it was 7 or 8 receptions, a lot of yards. And he bounced back in such a huge way this past Sunday. He was amazing this past week. I think it was the best game of his young career. I mean, 4 pass breakups, the interception. He had a passer rating again, like when targeted, a passer rating when targeted of 0.0.
Thanks for your call. We'll talk to you again soon. Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So, and we saw like when he steps up and can shut down the opposing team's slot receiver, it's tough for the opposing team to really move the ball up and down the field. And now this week against the Saints, Chris Olave lines up in the slot a little bit under 40% of the time. Their number 2 pass catcher this season has been tight end Juwan Johnson, who actually leads the team in receiving yards. He's lined up in the slot even more than Chris Olave has. So if Drew Phillips is playing a lot of snaps, which obviously we expect him to, he's going to be seeing a lot of those two. If he can kind of take those 2 out, that's going to be demoralizing for the Saints passing game, because those are their 2 top pass catchers. I mean, Rashid Shaheed, he's good. He's the talented deep threat, but I'll take my chances on Spencer Rattler, you know, hitting Rashid Shaheed 50 yards down the field, as opposed to him peppering, you know, Chris Olave and Juwan Johnson with targets.
All right, real quick, just want to let you guys know the Giants Foundation will host a 5K Racing Kids Run presented by Quest on Sunday, October 26th at 9 a.m. at MetLife Stadium. Net proceeds will benefit the Giants Foundation. All participants receive a commemorative T-shirt. After the race, stay for a post-race festival and appearances by Giants legends and a live DJ. Register now at giants.com/5K. The Giants Foundation is a 501c3 nonprofit corporation. Obviously, season tickets are still available. If you'd like to get in on those, membership includes exclusive access and member benefits during the off-season. Go to giants.com/tickets. The Giants TV mobile app is free. Gives you all kinds of cool stuff on the internet. It's available on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and the Giants mobile app. And then finally, the Giants Huddle podcast. Matt, I know you in charge of posting a lot of stuff. Do we have anything up there in the last 24 hours?
Yes, we posted yesterday. Well, first of all, we posted the Coach Dable show,
right?
The weekly preview show. In terms of podcasts, I don't remember what
I know the Eli Manning show is not a huddle, but it went up. That's the one with Mike Francesa.
With Mike Francesa. So the last huddle was posted, I believe yesterday or 2 days ago. Charlie Weiss joined the podcast.
Talking Jackson Dart, his first start, a variety of topics. Mm-hmm.
So that was the last huddle that went up. I believe that's the only one of the last couple. Brian Baldinger from earlier in the week, but that was more of a week 4 review than week 5 preview. And then,
how much did he drool over Scatterboo?
I mean, how much is everyone drooling over Scadaboo? And speaking of, real quick, just because you brought up Scadaboo and the Giants app, I'm not sure if you saw this or the viewers at home, but we posted on our social media accounts between Twitter, Instagram, a question of the day clip where we had all the players just give their best Cam Scadaboo impersonation.
Oh, no.
It is one of the funniest videos I've seen in a long time. It's only like 45 seconds. It will not take up much of your time. I highly recommend going and watching it. It is very, very entertaining. You will not be disappointed.
And I believe we also put up Nickelodeon's MVP of the Week video involving Jackson Dart.
Yes, Jackson Dart may or may not have gotten slimed.
Let's just say he badly needed to clean up after he was done. The award was nice, but what comes with the award, I could probably do without it.
I mean, good for him for being a good sport and allowing
no doubt
it to happen, because he could have said, no, I don't want to get slimed.
Well, when you're triple teamed by Scadaboo and 2 offensive linemen, you're not getting away. It's not going to happen. There's no way he was going to escape. 201-939-4513. Folks, we have to cut the show early today. I've been given a notation that we do need the studio in approximately 5 minutes or so, so we will have to cut off the program early. I do apologize for that. But I do want to make note that the game in New Orleans on Sunday is 1 o'clock, so listen to the WFAN radio pregame show beginning at 11 o'clock, kickoff at 1, following the game, WFAN with the postgame show, as well as on MSG with Giants postgame live. All kinds of coverage here on Sunday as the Giants try to get to 2-3. And by the way, think about this. 2-3 is a very respectable record. We talked about that during the offseason. If you could be 2-3, by the time you got to week 6, with Philadelphia coming here on Thursday night, you know what? That's digestible. This is a huge game for the Giants.
Look, coming into the year, at least myself, I said if the Giants can get to week 6, that Thursday night game at 2-3, obviously you would love to be better than that, of course. But if they, given how tough the beginning of the schedule is, going into that game 2-3 would be a big win for this team. And now, after last week's upset over the Chargers, the opportunity is right there. You got to go win a game that is winnable. It is definitely a winnable game. And then I don't want to look ahead yet because we'll have time.
No, don't do that.
To do that.
Don't do
next
that.
Week.
Don't do that.
Take care of business on Sunday and let's get to 2-3.
Real quick, Hank in New York, you're next on the show. Hello.
Hello. Thanks very much for taking my call.
Yes, sir.
Appreciate it. So I wanted to talk to you about replacing Malik Neighbors. I saw a lot of articles come out about trade options and some, OBJ and all this other stuff. And my take is that the front office has basically 2 paths going forward. They could have popcorn and circus or a good business decision, splash trade like OBJ, or might say headlines, but that's a distraction really for Dart. And that's how I see OBJ at least. I think the business move they should make is to just keep Hyatt, have him do the vertical move and use Theo Johnson for more of the flexing between blocking and seams or something like that, and Slayton doing what he does and Robinson doing what he does, and then mix in the Collins, what they're doing basically this week probably, see how that works with Collins, and Scadaboo could catch, and Tracy Jr. used to be a wide receiver, so you got options. It's a system they could work with. But my concern really relates back to Daniel Jones and what happened in 2022, 2023. He had no real weapons, very similar situation now. No wide receiver 1, and he learned discipline, timing, and how to run an offense on schedule. I mean, he already knew how to do that, but it really refined his abilities. But it capped him. Now you see he's gone to the Colts, and the people still don't want to admit that he's just a good quarterback. And it's sad too because the Giants developed that and gave it away, and so it was a big asset. They gave it away. Now it didn't work. I'm not saying go back, but that you could go back. But the issue that I see with Dart now is how are they going to develop an identity that he can build into that doesn't cap him without the offensive weapon. And that's kind of similar to what happened with Josh Allen. He had no real wide receiver 1, and he had to learn how to ball basically, and that's what Dart has. He's got that X factor. So I'm interested to see what happens, but I just really hope that nothing crazy, front office doesn't do anything crazy with wide receivers.
Well, I appreciate the thought, and thank you for the call.
Thank you,
I
Hank.
actually agree with him, Matt. I don't think we're going to see the Giants make a splash in bringing in a wide receiver from the outside. Number one, they don't have an awful lot of money under the cap to do that. And number two, I believe that they think they know some of the guys who are in the building. Again, Hyatt's on the 53, and they want to see if they can get production there, but we already mentioned that they've got a couple guys on the practice squad. And by the way, little Jordan Humphrey had a good preseason. There were some people who thought maybe he should be on the 53.
Yeah, one of them sitting right here.
Right. So who are you going to pick up off the street who's appreciably better than the guy who's already been in your system for the last how many months?
Yeah, no, I agree completely. I mean, the name that Hank said, Odell, obviously that's a hot topic name around here, but that it was a rumor that I've seen from like fan aggregate accounts on Twitter. That wasn't nowhere was I seeing that from anywhere actual, like substantial reporting or sources. So I think that was more just some people on social media being like, hey, why don't they just do this? I don't think there was or is any truth to that. I could be completely wrong, but I can't see that happening at all.
No.
In terms of bringing anybody in, like, yeah, obviously it would be great to have a very talented wide receiver brought in to, sort of help Jackson's development. But, like, let's be real. This year, obviously the Giants would love to win the Super Bowl. We would all love that. But considering how the last two seasons have went, you got to have realistic expectations for how the rest of the season can go. And I don't know if necessarily a Super Bowl is at the end of the road for this year. So why would you trade, draft assets in next year's draft or 2027's draft for someone to help right now when you're not necessarily gunning all in for a Super Bowl like we've seen other teams do trades for guys that are further along and they're not developing. They're not, a stepping stone team. They're contenders already. Giants are not quite there yet. I mean, hopefully they're there very soon. So I agree with you. I mean, maybe they end up signing someone off of someone else's practice squad, giving a chance if, over the next week or two, the receivers aren't stepping up like, the coaching staff hopes that they do. But for now, it seems like they're comfortable rolling with who they have. And again, similar to the linebacker conversation, seeing what they've got. I mean, there's a reason why everyone on the team, on the active roster and on the practice squad, there's a reason why they're here.
Well, Hyatt and Collins are on the 53. They don't even have to do anything to have those guys produce.
And they are going to get more snaps.
For sure.
That is just a fact because Malik Neighbors is obviously out for the rest of the season.
All right, we got to get out of here because the production studio is needed for some interviews. So, folks, we do apologize for cutting today's program just a bit short. This has been Big Blue Kickoff Live presented by Cadillac, the official luxury vehicle of the New York Football Giants. And don't forget, we always come to you from the Giants Podcast Studio presented by Hackensack Meridian Health. Keep getting better. For Matt, I'm Paul. Enjoy the weekend and Giants football on Sunday in New Orleans. We'll see you next time.